Dude, that is wild. We need to figure out where the next proxy war is going to happen. That's like the $1 million question. And then I'm going to get into currency speculation.
Oh, there we go. We got to start making calls on Proxy Wars. That's the play.
Yeah. Oh, we could like brand ourselves as a currency speculators podcast, like giving advice on global conflict.
Yeah.
The world's #1 predictor of global proxy wars.
Yeah.
Currencyspeculators.biz.
Boom. You want to make your millions? This is how. We know everywhere the wars are going to be.
Put all your money in Azerbaijani petrodrachmas. Whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, I have no idea what the fucking currency is.
I just combined petrodollar with Greek drachma.
Realpolitik is politics that are coercive, immoral, or Machiavellian.
Mr. McCarthy, you've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir?
Begins with one word: Realpolitik.
Welcome to Realpolitik. I am Paul Holden here with my boy John Barber.
Happy to be here.
Well, today we still have Chris the Plumber hiding out in his Colorado prepper bunker, so he's not able to make it in today. I think he's just kind of at this point drinking his own urine. I think
he's in a DUMB, a deep underground military base, and I know about that because of a quick preview that I watched on Netflix for some series. I know what that acronym is.
That makes sense. That's some hard-hitting research you got there.
So, Chris, come out of your dumb.
We, or at least get an Ethernet cable into that thing, you know?
Yeah.
Can't be that hard. Well, today we're going to go with a lighter topic. Oh, I can see you now, John.
Yeah,
Video.
sorry.
Working. That's a nice hat.
I'm also in my dumb.
You look like Indiana Jones. I like that.
I wear this hat all the time. I'm becoming a hat guy now that my hair is almost gone completely.
I'm having the opposite problem. My hair won't stop growing, and I currently have coronavirus, so I can't go see a barber.
Get out of here. I don't want to hear that kind of problem.
It's a hard issue, man. People don't give me enough pity for all the hair that I grow so fast. Well, today we're going light with the topics because I know everyone's locked up in quarantine and stuff. So we're going to be talking about how Barack Obama basically might have started World War III. So that's fun.
We already knew that was true. We just didn't know exactly how it was true.
We didn't know which one it would be, but one of his little seeds had to pop up. So right now, Russia and Turkey are engaging in a series of proxy wars, two of which we'll break down today. One of them is the Libyan Civil War, and the other one is the Azerbaijan-Armenia Border War, which has France, Germany, the UAE, Egypt, and the EU all jumping in. France and Germany just kind of splitting from the EU a little bit. It's basically both Putin and Erdogan trying to kick back up their empires in each other's backyards, and neither of them likes it, and they're starting to get real pissed off.
This is very like very Byzantine, very Eastern European.
It really is. It's very ancient the way that all this is playing out.
Yeah.
But to start with, we got the Libyan Civil War. If you aren't familiar with Libya, it's located in northern Africa. Egypt sits to its eastern border, and we got the Mediterranean Sea to its north. And after a NATO and U.S.-backed uprising in 2011, the longtime leader Gaddafi was overthrown and eventually killed. And the entire country essentially just fell into chaos afterwards, which is, just great news. And it's been in a civil war for the 9 years since. But this was all part of the Barack Obama lead from behind strategy in Libya, where instead of actually going in and engaging like we did in Iraq, the idea was we just send some boats and just bomb the shit out of them. And then, it'll all be fine afterwards. So we won't send in any troops and we're not stuck in a quagmire. The thing that ended up happening was Libya itself is just in a quagmire. We just don't happen to be there right now.
Right. So no boots on the ground. And I realize boots on the ground is politically incorrect to say now, but
can you not say that anymore?
No, I think that was deemed offensive to reduce military members to boots.
Oh.
But anyway, the whole thing, the lead from behind strategy came from the backlash against the Bush administration, which seems like a million years ago. But everybody was so upset with our involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan and the amount of American lives that were lost, or just our involvement there in those places and the waste of money that it was. And so the result is that we get policy of lead from behind, where we've got drones, we've got airstrikes, we've got stuff. Every military tool at our disposal is being used, except for actually deploying troops to permanently be in the area.
And the end result was basically the exact same thing that happens when we lead from the front, which is we fucked up the entire region. It's just burning still to this day, 10 years later almost.
Yeah, it's really no different. You topple the structure of the country, brutal as it was, dictatorial as it was, and have no real plan for how to stabilize the region afterwards. And you get anarchy and a chaotic situation with warlords and regional mini powers and all this stuff coming in and being brutal to each other. Yeah,
and it's basically just become a little battleground for all of these geopolitical players and outside parties and other countries to fight each other through. So it's even more brutal than it would have been if we just hadn't done anything. But the UN has tried to stop this from happening with all their UN power by placing an arms embargo to keep any nations from sending weapons into Libya. And it's worked so terribly that a UN special envoy to Libya called the embargo a cynical joke, as it's incredibly clear that no one is listening to it because there's like 8 different countries sending in weapons and drones and soldiers into the country to stir up the fighting.
Yeah, and many of them being active members of the UN.
Yeah. And some of them on the UN Security Council. It's great. Right. So the 2 teams that we got, one is, I'm going to call it Team General Haftar. So General Haftar is leading the Libyan National Army, or the LNA. And the second one is Team Tripoli, which is the Government of National Accords, the GNA. The Haftar team is backed by Egypt, Russia, and the UAE. And apparently, secretly, France and Germany have split from the EU and are backing them as well, which is a fun little plot twist. And then we got Tripoli, which is being backed by the UN, and mainly Turkey right now is the one that is really funding them. And they're based in Tripoli, which is kind of the flag that everybody wants to capture because it has a ton of oil reserves. It has a central bank. It has all the money in Libya. Is basically based in Tripoli.
So is Tripoli like? I know it's a city on the Mediterranean coast. Is it like the like sort of the most cosmopolitan and biggest city in the country?
I'm not sure if it's the biggest. I do know it's the richest. Everybody who Haftar wants to capture it because that would essentially end the game. He would still have a lot of rebellions to squash, but if he gets Tripoli, it's over. He's captured the capital. Board game ends at that point, and he's got all the cash and he's got all the oil, and he also basically has all of the Mediterranean to himself in that region.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this important question. Do these teams, the LNA, the Libyan National Army, and the Government of National Accords, GNA, do they have colors so that I know what to imagine in my head?
I think the GNA is green and the LNA is yellow, but I don't know why I think that. I might have just made that up. In my head, those are the colors I've been assigning them.
That seems right.
Okay. GNA might be green because it has a G in it. I don't really know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the alliances there. So Egypt, Russia, UAE are with General Haftar.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why are they interested in that side of the conflict?
Yeah, so one of the biggest players right now is Egypt. So Sisi, President Sisi in Egypt, is not a big fan of the Muslim Brotherhood, which, if you're familiar with the Egyptian Revolution, the Muslim Brotherhood was, I believe it was a Sunni political group who took power, and they were ousted very quickly. And Sisi essentially went after them. He threw them all in jail. He killed quite a few of their leaders, and it's an underground group now. And General Haftar in Libya has a very similar sentiment toward the Muslim Brotherhood. He wants them eradicated. He wants them out of Libya, and he calls them an extremist group, terrorist group. And Egypt is like, oh, hell yeah, I'm in on that. So that's really a big piece of what has brought Egypt into this for Haftar, is because they want to see the Muslim Brotherhood eradicated from the region.
So okay, they come from they're cut from the cloth of the more nationalist type of Middle Eastern political movements that is opposed to the more religious political movements. Okay.
Yeah, very much so, which is a big part of the UAE backing them as well. And then Russia got pulled into the game because originally they were kind of playing both sides and not really picking a team. They were going like full on old school USSR geopolitik with it. And they started siding with Haftar because Sisi, who is a homie with Putin, was like, yo, we need your help with this. And
I lost your audio there for a little bit. Sometimes I feel like we're in like a developing country or a degenerating country where the services just kind of flicker on and off.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes like that's where we're at right now.
I think we may be there. I mean, we have the worst internet services in like the industrialized world.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, the fall of the American Empire, man. It's a sad sight. Where were we?
That's just like automatically in the background of all of our commentary. But why Russia was involved in Libya? Why they're supporting the LNA?
Yeah, so Sisi was the one who had really pulled Putin in. So Egypt and Russia have a really close alliance. Russia even has like a special autonomous economic zone on the Suez Canal that President Sisi in Egypt set up for them. So they're homies, and he was the one who first pulled him in. And I think the reason why Russia is now backing Haftar so hard is because he sees it as a way of draining Turkey, because Turkey's backing the other side. And Turkey's also, in Putin's eyes, trying to recreate the Ottoman Empire. So he wants to draw them into the conflict and not give them an easy win.
Gotcha. So in the background, and I'm sure we'll hit on this more, a big thing in the background of this is Russia and Turkey both looking to fill geopolitical vacuum provided by the withdrawal of the United States.
Yeah, basically, with the U.S. gone, and I mean internally, we're just on fire, and we're all dying of COVID, which I also have. Yay! There's a huge vacuum there, and they're filling it and in direct conflict. Well, not direct conflict with each other, but they have proxy wars in Iraq, in Syria, and now Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Libya. So all over the region, they're basically fighting with each other.
Gotcha. Okay, so that explains Russia and Egypt. On the other side, we got in the other corner of the ring, we got the European Union, Turkey, and the United States.
Yeah. So to start off, I mean the EU and the UN have been pretty passive with this. They haven't been funding or sending arms or anything like that. But they do recognize Tripoli as the legitimate government. So they have the political backing of those organizations. Turkey is the one who's been sending guns and soldiers. And the reason why Turkey's backing them, a big part of it is just that they want the Mediterranean. So they see this as an attempt to secure the resources and the boundaries within the Eastern Mediterranean as part of what President Erdogan of Turkey calls the Blue Homeland Doctrine. That's a doctrine that Erdogan made up, saying that Turkey has natural gas rights to reserves in the eastern coast of the Mediterranean. No one else really agrees with this, including everyone else in the Eastern Mediterranean, but he's just rolling with it anyways. And Libya, in Tripoli, the Libyan Prime Minister al-Sarraj signed a military cooperation pact with Turkey to give them oil exploration rights to the Mediterranean so they can get the oil and natural gas there. Greece and Cyprus were pretty mad about this because they say Libya doesn't have any legal authority to give this up and that it's actually their waterways that they have claim to. They're already creating beef in the Mediterranean, but Turkey's trying to create a legal workaround to give them access to everything.
And so this is just a naked energy market decision there.
Yeah, so much of this just ties back to oil, and they're trying to get access to oil reserves that have nothing to do with Russia or don't have to move through Russia. So securing their own independence, and they see Libya as a key part of that. So, and, legally, they may not have an argument, but, the law is just a series of arguments. And if you have the biggest gun or bomb, you typically win. So right. Turkey may win the day because they can definitely back up what they're saying.
Paul, I'm proud of your recognition that might makes right. You've come a long way.
Yeah, I've developed so greatly since we started this podcast. But just get the biggest gun, and then and you're the victor, and you're just.
Yeah, you got the power. You make the law.
Yep. But what so much of this comes down to is just Turkey and Russia now having beef. So Turkey is part of NATO, which, is the Western Strategic Military Alliance. Mm-hmm. And NATO was getting a little mad at Turkey because they were starting to side more with Russia. The United States wouldn't sell them like missiles and shit. They're like, no, you got enough of that. So then Turkey went to Russia to buy it. And then Russia was trying to make Turkey their bitch. So then Turkey got mad at Russia and said, no, we're not playing that game. And then now they're back to being enemies again. Yep. That's the drama. That's the geopolitical drama there.
So I wonder if it's if this pitting of Russia versus Turkey is an attempt by Western powers to secure Turkey on our side of the thing.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
If Turkey isn't just the largest pawn on the map.
I have not heard that theory, but I love it. Just pulling back in.
Turkey has always been Western adjacent for a very long time. For a long time, people considered it to be part of Europe. There were talks for a long time about them entering into the European Union.
Yeah.
They are, as you said, a member of NATO, which is, shorthand for the West in a lot of ways. So, it's not so far-fetched to think that they could be just acting as an agent of the West in this sense. But also, Turkey is one of those geopolitical forces that have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
Historically and in the modern day. So interesting.
Yeah, Erdogan can be a bit of a wild card. And John, correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the biggest reasons why European states were pushing back against them joining the EU was because they were worried about immigration, right? Because it would bring them into the free movement zone, and then they don't want people flooding through.
Yeah, so that is a huge reason for it. There was also a lot of political instability, or rising political instability, and kind of dictatorial behavior on the part of Erdogan, which makes people question it. But yes, certainly I don't know if entry into the Schengen zone is necessary for EU membership, but that's like the next step after you're an EU member is to get in the free movement zone. And Turkey's a big country with a lot of people, and it absolutely dwarfs a lot of European states. So people, from a political standpoint, smaller countries don't want another big bully in the EU to push them around.
Yeah. But the immigration piece is interesting because that's also a reason why Germany has been backing Haftar against kind of what the EU is doing, because Haftar wants to squash travel from Africa across the Mediterranean into the European Union. And one of Germany's biggest concerns is all the illegal immigration coming through. So they're like, oh, this boy is going to back us for that. And then kind of along with that, France is secretly backing Haftar. There's reports that they're like secretly training their military or secretly sending them funds. It's all like very under the cover of night. But they also hate the Muslim Brotherhood because they've had, quite a few terrorist attacks there. And they also have a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment. So it kind of makes sense. We're like, oh, this guy's trying to squash this, Islamic politicization. So they're now also pushing for him.
That's interesting. Especially France is not so surprising because France has always had a hand in North African affairs since the days of imperialism. Mm-hmm. And Germany, it's a bit more surprising, but because Germany has pretty close links with Turkey, actually. They were allied in the First World War. Mm-hmm. Goes back that far. And Turkey, the largest population of ethnic Turks, or like people from Turkey, I think is in Germany. They took in a huge number of immigrants in the mid 20th century to make up for large population losses. They make up a huge, probably the largest minority group in the country of Germany are people who were formerly from Turkey. Erdogan often visits Germany and speaks fondly of the Turks who live there now. So it's interesting that they would be under the table on the other side of that. But then there's also lots of talk of Germany cozying up to Russia as well. Yeah. So interesting to see. I think Germany kind of is hedging their bets and making sure they're on everybody's good side in case something terrible breaks out.
Yeah. Which also makes sense because Haftar had been kicking ass. He had been doing really well. So, it kind of adds up for them to try and, make sure that if there is someone new there, that they are friendly with them. The current state, and I found this quote from a journalist that I thought was very descriptive. He says, having collapsed into feuding city-states after the overthrow of the longtime Libyan dictator Colonel Muammar el-Gaddafi in 2011, Libya is less a functioning state than a vast and bloated public payroll. Citizens and towns are united only by a shared dependence on the oil revenue flowing through the national bank in Tripoli to a vastly inflated government workforce. Some of those salaries ultimately end up paying fighters on all sides of the war. Control of the central bank and the oil revenue has made Tripoli the war's grand prize. So we got Tripoli who has a region in the west. We got Haftar over in the east who has a bit, and then a massive chunk in the middle is literally just being ran by warlords that no one else can get control of.
Well, and I may be wrong here, but I'm thinking so much of the state of Libya the territory is just like vast expanses of land. Mm-hmm. That is sort of uninhabitable. I mean, you're getting into like the Sahara Desert there. Yeah. And so there's large spaces between things that are of any value. So it's
so why would you even bother?
Right. Well, it's just like you control these. That's why the city-states comment is interesting and accurate, I think, because the territory between the cities isn't nearly as valuable as the cities themselves. Mm-hmm. And so you have these little islands in a sea of wasteland or just desert, and that makes it prime for local control or like warlording or just little territorial jumps being made in a military progression.
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially the ISIS play. Not to compare these guys to ISIS, but you go for the resources, you snag the oil. You snag the cities because you want the manufacturing centers because you need to be able to make shit for your army. And fuck everything else. You know, that's what's important. You need the money flowing, and you're good.
And the seat of power, a city is where the seat of power is, and that's where, you know, people derive their legitimacy a lot from, like, controlling the seat of power. If some revolutionary came in and took over Washington, D.C. and sat down at the resolute desk in the Oval Office and started issuing, you know, commands to the American people, a lot of people will be like, well, he's sitting in the right chair. I mean, like,
It looks right. I guess he's president.
he's in the spot where the president goes. I mean, he seems like a president. So if you can control Tripoli, I guess, that being the seat of power and the seat of the central bank, I think that explains kind of why that's the crown jewel of this conflict.
Yeah. And my favorite part about Russia right now is that because Haftar does not have the central bank, he doesn't have access to Libyan money in their currency. So Russia has just started counterfeiting millions of Libyan dollars in Russia and then just shipping it to Haftar to pay his soldiers. So they have a massive counterfeit scheme going on to fund this.
Right. And at the same time, you destabilize the currency of the Tripoli of the GNA by doing that. So,
the whole economy is in shambles because of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's a fun play that they're doing. And then we got the UAE, who's been sending them Chinese-made Wing Lung drones that apparently $5 million a pop, so pretty pricey. And so, I mean, they're getting some top-of-the-line military hardware to do their bombings for them.
That's interesting, too. I would have thought that UAE would have been on the other side of this because these, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I thought that UAE typically sided with Saudi Arabia geopolitically, and Saudi Arabia is generally on the side of globalist Western powers in opposition to Russian forces.
Yeah, it may be that the United States has actually pulled out quite a bit from this. I mean, the Trump administration doesn't really. I mean, they're just flying by the seat of their pants. Basically.
Well, and they have absolutely no coherent foreign policy. So it's not surprising that they don't know what the fuck side to pick or how to make this better.
Yeah, I mean, you got fucking Jared Kushner running half the government, so I mean, he can read a couple books on it, I'm sure, like he did with Israel, but, you know, there's not going to be anything that makes much sense.
Well, Libya is going to be part of Greater Israel soon.
Oh, is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's what the plan is. That's the long game.
That's the Illuminati plan, man. That's next episode.
That's what Jared told me when I talked to him on the phone last, so be looking for that.
The whole region is just part of Israel. It's going to be a wonderful apocalypse that we all live in. So, apart from counterfeiting just millions of dollars, Russia has also been sending mercenaries into Libya to support Haftar. So the reports are they've sent anywhere from 1,200 to 3,000 mercenaries who are highly skilled from this mercenary group called the Wagner Group, which is a paramilitary company in Russia that's been deployed in both Syria and Ukraine. So people are now saying that this Wagner Group is just a shadow arm of the Russian government. Like whatever Russia wants them to do, they're sending them in and paying.
Now, is it Wagner or is it Wagner?
Ooh, you might have just got me. You're probably right. It's a W, but do you say that Wagner in Russian?
Well, in German you would say Wagner, and I don't know. If you're thinking of nationalistic movements, militaristic nationalistic movements, the composer Richard Wagner is what comes to mind. And so that's very much in Russia's wheelhouse right now. So it could be kind of like the heroic classical music throwback name. But I don't know. I'm pulling that out of my ass.
You're doing some QAnon baking right now, dude. You're like, no, this is actually a reference to Wagner.
Dude, I would put money that it is reference to Wagner.
It may be. I don't know. I didn't really look that much into it.
I'm going to put money on it.
The best part of this, though, is that the reason that people started looking into Russia sending in mercenaries, and this is no joke, this has been reported on, Tripoli soldiers were ending up with holes in their heads out of nowhere. And apparently it's because this group has very skilled snipers, and they've just been taking them out while they're just like doing their normal day shit. And so like people just like were dying out of nowhere, and they're like, oh shit, there's snipers here. Haftar's group does not know how to do this. And then they started tracing military planes coming from Russia to Libya, and then all these funds that are being transferred from this group. And they're like, oh, they're sending these mercenaries in here now.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's pretty brutal. Haftar's group was actually close to winning the war and taking Tripoli with Russia's help. But Turkey sent their own mercenaries and drones in to push it back and essentially save Tripoli. So now Tripoli, as it stands today in July of 2020, has a bit of an upper hand on Haftar, which is a fun little thing for them. So it's swinging the pendulum. It's one side sends in a bunch of shit and then they start winning, and then the other side has their allies send in a bunch of stuff and then they start winning, and it's just swinging back and forth the whole time.
Okay, this is small thing on the Wagner group. I believe that I was right. Company's name comes from Yudkin's own call sign. Yudkin being the Ukrainian citizen who is the founder of the Wagner group. And he allegedly chose it due to his passion for the Third Reich.
Oh.
Which was a little after Wagner's time, but they were big Wagner fans, I'll say that. And
well, that's dark.
Here's even more interesting. The Radio Liberty, who I don't know who that is, but they cited insiders as saying that the Slavic native faith, which is a modern pagan new religious movement, is a faith favored by the leadership of the Wagner group. So we're talking about pagan warriors going down from Russia into North Africa in order to enact global nationalism.
What a story.
Yeah.
Damn.
You heard it here first, guys. Pagans,
they're taking it. Radio Liberty is the U.S.-backed, secretly CIA-ran radio group that we've set up all across the world to spread our misinformation and propaganda as the United States.
And here's what happened is they thought that saying that they're neo-pagans was going to be a bad thing, but it's actually really cool.
It's actually very exciting, yeah. It's like whenever I'm researching the Illuminati and they're talking about like secretly infiltrating the church and the monarchy to destroy it, I'm like, that's awesome. Why are people saying this is bad?
Yeah, like from a certain perspective, this is cool.
Yeah, this is badass. I want to be in it. All
right, sorry to take you on that tangent there.
No, that was a great tangent. I love it. So with Turkey, they've also been sending in their own mercenaries, but theirs are from Syria. So they're taking Syrian soldiers and promising them citizenship in Turkey and also paying their salaries if they fight for Tripoli in Libya. So those are the guys that they're sending in instead of sending in their own troops. So they're just jacking people from Syria right now.
That's like in the old Roman days, you'd pay your soldiers with land and citizenship.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
Or the old Roman days where I think it was the Romans where you got conscripted, so you would just pay for someone else to cover you. I mean, that was even the United States. They did it in the Civil War, I think.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of places, but yeah, Romans too, for sure.
Yeah. So they're just I mean, they've already invaded Syria after we pulled out. So I guess they're just like, hey, we already got this. Y'all just go over to Libya now so we don't have to go in. So everyone's just sending in troops and weapons and drones, and it's getting increasingly violent. And it got to the point where Egypt now has passed a initiative within parliament that they are going to actually invade Libya and send in their own troops to support their team in the conflict. So Egypt is saying, fuck all this mercenary stuff. We're just going in guns a-blazing.
Well, and so if I understand it correctly, their side of the conflict controls the eastern portion of Libya, and so they're contiguous, Egypt is contiguous with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so they could just drive right in.
Yeah. They got no problems. They can go straight into it and be welcomed with open arms. Their given reason for doing this is to, quote, repel Turkish aggression on its borders. So the idea is that if Haftar falls, then they have some bad shit right next to him. So
that is their explicit reasoning is to repel Turkish aggression.
Yeah,
wow.
They've called Turkey out. They're like, Turkey, you are messing with this conflict, and your team is pushing my team back. So we're just going to go in guns blazing.
That's interesting too, because Egypt is another one of those countries that has enough weight and has had for the last 100 years that they've been able to throw their weight around in the region in a way that's similar to how Turkey has.
Yeah.
They're one of the greater powers there. So interesting to see all of this come together there.
Yeah.
A perfect storm.
Yeah, there's a lot of intertwining narratives here and a lot of history. Al Jazeera was saying that World War III is playing out by proxy inside of Libya right now because we have so many players.
Yeah, I don't know if you can count a Proxy Wars World War III, but maybe it's like the prequel. Maybe it's maybe it's like the Spanish Civil War to the World War II.
Yeah. If you can count a proxy as a world war, then I think we're on like World War 8 or 9, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally. Yeah.
This happened a lot. But I mean, the question is like, does this escalate? Does Egypt go in? Does Turkey send in its troops? Do they come in direct conflict? Is NATO nations pulled in? Is Russia pulled in? Likely not, but this could also go south if, an Erdogan, who also is not the most stable human being at times, decides that Turkey needs to go in guns a-blazing too, just like Egypt.
Well, I think if we take Syria as the most recent analog to this situation, Bashar al-Assad, who is the nationalist Ba'athist ruler, was he Ba'athist? I think he is.
I think he is.
Ruler of Syria. And he was supported by Russian forces against Western or like NATO supported forces, US supported forces. And so the analog here is that Haftar would be the more similar to Assad in this situation. Yeah. And the Syrian Liberation Army or whatever the hell it was is more similar to the GNR.
Yeah.
Or GNA.
GNA.
So that being said, I think that we saw that great powers are willing to escalate in these proxy wars pretty heavily. I mean, Syria was a shit show, and the escalation was extreme, and it lasted for a very long time. And I think we should probably expect a similar situation here.
Yeah, it's most likely going to get very bad. And from what I've been reading, the situation in Libya is actually increasingly more complicated than Syria, which many people didn't think was possible. But it's going to be even more of a shit show.
Already, I mean, just going over all the sides and everybody's motivations, it's already more complicated than Syria.
It seemed like World War I level shit, dude.
Yeah, it really is. It's interesting, and it really is. It's like deep, long historical rivalries that are playing out right before.
Yeah, and it's continuing to escalate. So we'll see where Egypt goes with their invasion of Libya, but that's where things stand today. And speaking of deep, long-seated rivalries, Azerbaijan and Armenia have also had beef.
The classic fight.
You gotta love it. It's so good. It just keeps popping up.
It's like when Alabama plays Auburn, baby.
It's very similar. So Azerbaijan and Armenia are now in a live border dispute fight. So live rounds, people dying on both sides. It's not yet full blown, but it started on July 12th. and it's over the disputed territory of a name that I'm probably going to butcher, Nagorno-Karabakh. Karabakh?
I would say
I need to stop. Yeah, I need to stop just reading these and like listen to a video or something because I just have terrible pronunciation. But
go to one of those YouTube videos where you hit play and it's like 5 seconds long and it's just a woman going, Nagorno, Nagorno.
Pronunciation.com.
Yeah.
Nagorno. So right now, this region is legally recognized by the international community, which means completely nothing, as we've learned, as part of Azerbaijan, but it is currently controlled by Armenia. So Azerbaijan hasn't had control of this territory in over a decade, I think. So this border has been disputed for a very long time. The territory lines were originally drawn by the USSR when they took it over as part of their bloc. And both sides are just pointing the finger at each other for starting the fighting. We don't really know what happened. We just know that on July 12th, they started shooting at each other. And shelling and skirmishes have continued on a daily basis from July 12th to today and really have no signs of easing up right now. Armenian officials are saying that Azerbaijan is launching drone attacks on civilian targets, including the town of Burg. And these drones are said to have actually been provided to them by Turkey. So once again, looping in Turkey and Russia into this. And they've also said that Azerbaijan is launching cyber attacks on Armenian government websites. So hopefully they're, doing something fun with that, like Iran did with the United States when they hacked and put a picture of Trump getting punched. Which is so stupid.
When did that happen?
When did that happen? Remember when we assassinated their general?
Oh, yeah. Oh, after, what was his name? Soleimani?
Yeah, after we assassinated Soleimani, they hacked the DOD public website or whatever. It was the main website, and they put up a picture of Trump being punched in the face by a fist with an Armenian flag behind him. And they're yeah, we got the Americans.
I did not remember that.
It was up for 2 hours.
Imagine how bad those government websites are in the former USSR, Central Eurasia.
Yeah.
Those poor things didn't stand a chance.
Dude, not at all. I mean, I imagine our government websites are trash. I don't think anyone is going to that website and they're putting no resources into their public site. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a municipal government official who's who makes websites as a hobby. He's well, we need one, so
we got to put it up. I mean, I've been to the C-SPAN website, and it is the worst thing ever. And I use it on a weekly basis, and I'm I hate everyone who is behind this fucking interface. So,
okay, so part of this conflict, I'm looking up, I'm Googling as we're talking here, but Azerbaijan, is that are they predominantly Christian or Muslim?
So Azerbaijan is predominantly Muslim.
Okay, so we got some religious conflict here.
We do. So this one's not just nationalist; it is also religious. So the Armenians are Orthodox Christians, and in Azerbaijan, there's a lot of Muslims and a lot of Muslim Turks, apparently. Russia has old school connections to the Orthodox Christians from back in the Tsarist days, and they've backed Armenia for a fucking century or something.
Right. And they're still predominantly Orthodox.
Yeah. So they see that they need to protect the Armenians from what they also see as Turkish aggression now. So they're Turkish aggression via Azerbaijan as they're kind of pushing in and trying to take this territory over.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this one goes way back, but a good place to start is 1915 and World War I, which is where Russia backed the Armenians in their attempt to create an independent state that would break away from the then Ottoman Empire, which is, now shrunk into baby little Turkey. Breaking the Orthodox Christians away from the Muslims, essentially, was how it was phrased in the awesome Tsarist propaganda. So the Ottoman Empire tried to squash the rebellions by the Armenians and also committed a genocide against them, which a lot of people still don't recognize to this day, but 1.5 million Armenians were killed in concentration camps and through deportations and death marches. So really, really brutal history between these two groups that goes back over 100 years and even longer.
And there's a lot of bad blood as to this day, because I know still a lot of people in the international community do not recognize that as a genocide that actually occurred, you know?
Yeah, a ton of people. Does the United States even recognize it? I don't know if we do.
I think we may have recognized it recently, but it's like, even so, it's like a footnote in history, which is sort of insulting to Armenians when we give other such genocides such importance in our own history. Yeah,
we're very selective on what genocides we care about, especially, you know, ignoring the ones that we committed, like in Indonesia, but that's fine. I had an episode on that. It was great. If you didn't hear it, go listen to it. So both, well, and I know it was a huge deal when Kim Kardashian went to Armenia for the genocide Memorial Day or whatever. Like, that was breaking news all over the country.
That's amazing that she had any sort of positive effect on people's understanding of history.
Dude, the Kardashians are like changing the world behind the scenes, I think.
I'll give them more credit there.
Like, I forget the name of the case, but did you hear about the guy who was wrongly convicted and basically like put on death row? And it's like they wouldn't hear the genetic testing that they had done on the case and shit like that. And Kim Kardashian went to Donald Trump and asked him to pardon the person, and he did.
Well, good on both of them in that case.
So, I mean, she's doing some good stuff, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you noticed that Armenian names all end in En at the end? Kardashian, Dan Bilzerian. He's the lead singer from System of a Down.
I have no idea. Is he Armenian?
The whole band. That whole band is Armenian.
I didn't know that. I can still play Hypnotize on the guitar.
Serge Tonkian.
Huh.
So, yeah. Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, in the Young Turks, that was the Armenian rebel group, right? In the Ottoman Empire?
I think they were the ones that committed the genocide. They were the Turkish group, which is like a weird that the Young Turks, the news, modern media company, is still called that. But and one of their main correspondents is a Armenian woman. But
I need to brush up on my 1910s Ottoman Empire history. I'm a little rusty on it.
Yeah, easy to forget some of that from our high school days in Armenia 101.
Yep. So Armenia and Azerbaijan were both part of the Soviet bloc during the USSR days, and that was the one time that armed conflict between the two countries kind of halted. The Soviet Union decided that the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, as they called it, would be within Azerbaijan. And the Karabakh Armenians were really mad about this and spent the entire time demanding that it be transferred back to Soviet Armenia. But the Soviet Union never let it happen. So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Armenia and Azerbaijan immediately went back to war. Like, within the year, they were fighting with each other again over this region, and the Armenian-Azerbaijan war resulted in 30,000 casualties and displaced 1 million people across the autonomous zone, and that was the point that Armenia took it back from Azerbaijan. So it's still recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but it's occupied by Armenia right now.
Huh. So it's been occupied by Armenia since 93.
Yes, since 93, since that war, they've taken it over and haven't lost it. So as these ethnic divides keep getting worse, Moscow started to align itself with Armenia again as a way of keeping its foothold in the region and also, you know, protecting who they see as a group that's ethnically connected to the Russians.
Mm.
So lots of century-old drama, basically, is what's going on.
Yeah.
But the region itself, there's a lot of deep ethnic ties to both countries, but there's also a lot of strategic importance to it. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of natural resources here. So, it's weird how no one ever fights over something that doesn't have a lot of shit in it, but there's a lot of gold, a lot of precious metals, a lot of copper there, and the mines have started actually kicking up in the past couple of years, which has been really pissing Azerbaijan off, which is led to a lot of these skirmishes that they've been having because they're like, oh, fuck, you're taking all the gold. We want that. So they're going after it. And then we got our boys Erdogan over in Turkey, and they're hoping to strengthen Azerbaijan and exploit the oil and gas pipelines that Azerbaijan has that actually bypass Russia and can give them further economic and military security in the region to its smaller territories that border Armenia. So basically, Azerbaijan is at this convergence point of them trying to shrink Russia's sphere of influence and grow their own, and then also kind of just get rid of the, like, what they call the Armenian wedge that Azerbaijan is having to deal with right now. And then our boy Putin over in Moscow, he has said that he's going to be a guarantor of peace and stability, which, obviously he's always been, and thereby is looking to maintain his influence and control over the region, mainly over, a lot of former Soviet states, which he's done in Moldova and Crimea as well with his recent annexation there. So trying to bring Russia back to its former glory is really his ultimate goal here.
Yeah, there's a clear line that you can draw from the success of the Crimean annexation. And I say success on the part of Russia because they avoided an international conflict when they took over Crimea, and it basically went unpunished save for sanctions.
Yeah.
And you can draw a direct line from that to these attempts by lots of players on the international stage of taking little bites of influence out of their adjacent territories. So everybody on the international stage looked at that and said, okay, looks like meat's back on the menu. And we can start taking territory again.
History may have ended for a couple decades, but history's kicking back up, and we're going to start taking shit over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what's happened. I mean, the U.S. is drawn down and drawn out, and we are completely absorbed with our own infighting. And, we were playing world police and forcing everyone to kind of abide by our rules. And that's just not the way that things are working anymore. And yeah, you're right. Like, Crimea really showed that. Russia just walked in and took territory from another country, and everyone was like, well, we're going to freeze your assets in USD. And they're like, we don't have anything in USD, so go fuck yourself. Like, that's basically all we did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny when you read about the politicians that China has given sanctions on for, like, the trade war just being belligerent. It's like every one of your assets in the yen is now frozen. And they're like, I don't fucking have anything in yen, dude. And then they go to their constituents and they say, look how hard I'm fighting for America. Other countries are sanctioning me. And then it, like, bolsters them. It's, like, in their favor. So we now have a situation where Russia is funneling, like, billions of dollars, like literally giving billions of dollars to Armenia over the past couple of years to support this cause of building up their army and hopefully being able to push back Azerbaijan. Turkey said that it's standing with Azerbaijan, and during the violence, 2 senior officials, a major general and a colonel, were killed along with 5 servicemen on the Azerbaijan side. So that resulted in 30,000 protesters marching to the Azerbaijan capital demanding the government fully deploy their army with chants like Karabakh is Azerbaijan and the phrase mobilization, which is so badass that there's 30,000 Azerbaijan citizens chanting mobilization outside of the capital, like bloodthirsty for war with Armenia.
That is pretty badass.
It is. It's the biggest. It was the biggest protest that they've seen in the country in decades.
Nice.
It was crazy. We got what looks like something that may actually turn into a full-scale war, especially with the sentiments of the citizenry on both sides just wanting to murder each other. And once again, we got two world powers who are using it as a proxy to fight with each other.
Yeah, this is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
The same thing is essentially happening on different scales and in different areas, but it's proxy wars between the two expansionist powers, Turkey and Russia. And it could spill out a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, if Turkey decides to send in troops or Russia decides to send in troops, it is a domino effect of allies who start falling in on both sides, because I mean, you basically have half the world at that point who is allied with one of these two countries.
You got NATO, which is a complex series of alliances, all for one and one for all kind of mentality.
Yeah, and then Russia has the Commonwealth of Independent States, the CIS, which is basically just their NATO that has very similar doctrines of you attack one, you attack us all.
In Star Wars, the prequels, the Count Dooku's faction in the Clone Wars was called the CIS, the Confederacy of Independent Systems.
Was it?
Yeah. So there might be a Sith Lord behind all this.
This is all the Sith's fault. Well, we haven't gotten to the part yet where all of this is actually deployed by the Illuminati to distract us from the aliens that are going to destroy Earth.
Right. So the Star Wars comment brings us right back to aliens.
Right back to the aliens who are running the show. And the Pentagon knows about it, and they're just not telling us.
That's right.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah, they're taunting us with these Star Wars references.
Listen, I've been reading a lot of this guy named William Cooper, and he just says some great things, and I really think that we need to listen to what he wrote before he was assassinated.
Well, we're going to have to go into that because I don't know who William Cooper is.
Oh, have you not looked into Behold the Pale Horse?
No.
Oh, my God, dude. It is the father of all conspiracies. It was I went into it on the last episode, but it's basically this crazy guy who claimed that he had Q-level security clearance. Wink, wink. But this was in 1992, and he's claimed to know all of the secrets of the Illuminati and these secret aliens that the government was talking to. And he just morphed every conspiracy ever into it, and it's just beautiful. It's amazing.
It's a work of art. I will have to look into that.
It is just like you're like snorting red pills at that point. Like you are going so deep down the rabbit hole.
Crushed up, chopped up, put in a line.
Just rails of red pilling, man. It's gnarly.
Straight to the dome.
But we'll get more into the Illuminati and aliens on next episode, because that's going to be our topic. Just lay a little teasers there. But that's what we got. We got these two groups that are armed to the teeth and fighting through every other country, and it's getting. They're Russia and Turkey are fighting each other in like 5 different countries now, and it's getting to the point where they may actually just start fighting each other, which is where the CIS and NATO comes into play, and it could get bad. But that's the story, man. So on a scale of 1 to 5 Franz Ferdinands, John, how likely do you think that this is to cause World War III?
I'm going to say I'm going to give it 3 archdukes.
Okay.
In that I think that it's not necessarily going to be the direct cause of it, but when people look back 100 years from now, they're going to say, it was happening there, that we saw it starting to happen, and it was happening, and little did they know they were about to cause a whole lot of trouble.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I'm going to give it 2, and it's the same exact thought process. This may not be the thing that brings us to the World War, but these are the roots. We are laying the groundwork, and people are picking their sides, and we are making groups angry enough at each other now that we haven't had a world war in a while. So
Yeah.
I think as
America is so fucked in a world war sense because like nobody, like I guess there are still a lot of people who are ready to fight and die for America, but like you're talking about the Azerbaijanis chanting mobilization. We don't have anything like that.
no, man, we are pussies now. Like we can't wear a mask without complaining. Like, imagine what would happen if we had to go to a world war. It's like, wait, I have to, like, conserve resources? Fuck you, this is America.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to play.
Yeah, we've lost all of our bloodlust. It's really the real shame.
I honestly think it is. It's sad to see. We used to be so thirsty, and now we're just stuck on our little island. I honestly think if there's World War III, we might just sit it out. Like, we're not even going to be a player.
Yeah.
I mean, like fucking Canada. Just like, y'all take care of it. We're just going to hang out here and like yell about how there's like a fucking cabal of pedophiles in Hollywood.
Yeah, we'll just kind of assume the fetal position and wait it out.
It's not our thing anymore. Well, this has been Realpolitik. Thank you so much for listening. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Realpolitik. You can email me, paul.realpolitik@gmail.com, and drop us 5 stars on Apple, you assholes. I want to see it. We only have 10, I think, and we got 1,000 downloads this month. It's a really bad ratio. I want to see some 5 stars.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Well, thank you for it. But that's been the show. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay strong, and start chanting mobilization at your capital because it's super cool to do.
And that is how the cookie crumbles.
The end.